Welcome to another spooktacular spook episode of Spook Under Spookter.
Whoa. That was, you gotta warn me before you're going to scare me like that.
Keep on talking, honeys.
Holy smokes.
All right, that's all I got.
Spooky. That's it? You're out of those noises. You used up a whole episode worth of spooky noises within 30 seconds. Great. Now what are we going to do? We have oh, shoot.
I remember when I was in second grade or first grade, some very tiny grade, where I was advised to not use up all my speed during this race, like go really slow, and then in the last lap, sprint. And I wasn't in great shape, so I like kind of jogged at first, and then by the time I got to that last lap, I was exhausted. So in the end, I didn't get to sprint at all. I just did a crappy jog and then was tired, and it was just the worst race ever. It's very
so
traumatic.
Never again. Always,
never again.
Yeah, if you run out early, you run out early. At least you don't want to end the race with more left in the tank, and you don't want to end the race having not gotten to do the most fun part of the race either.
Yeah, which is it's funny how different costumes make you use your body in ways you would never use before.
Yeah. This is what would you, both of us, so I cheated. First of all, this is, my costume is better when I'm standing up. I'll try to stand up and see if you can see this, but it's a whole long...
Oh, that is nice.
Leather long coat, like old antique English coat, and is just I was like, maybe I'll just crowbar, I'll just say I'm a vampire hunter. I don't know. I mean, I have crazy hair and beard and like a 120-year-old coat and top hat on. That's something.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it has a very step right up vibe to it too. Like also carny.
Yeah. I didn't know if I should go hair up or down, but it's like, we'll go down with this one because it just adds to the. It's just a lot. There's just a lot more going on with.
Now, did you acquire any of these recently, or you had these in your closet?
I had them in my closet. I'm like pretty lazy about Halloween. I think when I was young, I just was so contrarian. Anything that anyone else, I liked Halloween when I was young, but then like once I couldn't trick or treat anymore, I was like, nope, dressing up is stupid just because everyone else does it. And I was like, I've been a real Grinch in a lot of situations through a lot of my life, especially like the 14 to like 24 range. I'd say like I had a good 10 years where it was like just a real intense hatred of like any like group behavior. Of any kind. And I've eased up quite a bit on like, because if you don't, I mean, people should get to dress up and have fun during holidays and be ridiculous. And so I think some of it is like, I don't know if I have some insecurities or something, because some of it is like with dancing, my default is to be like, oh, dancing's stupid. And it's because I'm insecure about dance. Like I don't have a lot of experience dancing. I've never been the most coordinated person in the world. I was always like super shy around girls and stuff when I was a kid. And so I think I just like projected that onto the fun. So I'd like to like ruin other people's good time and experience like with my own shit. And I think I've done that like a little bit with Halloween, but I'm still, I like dressing up just generally like like a Renaissance fair or something like peculiar. I've worn this many times just down a street, like just in regular life. I like looking peculiar normally, just not when everyone else does. And so this was from the Port Eliot Festival. It was historically book fair in England that like got bigger and bigger, and then it turned into like it's sort of like a really delightful family friendly Burning Man kind of situation.
So no like, dicks out.
Not dicks out, not super rowdy. Lots of like authors and stuff there. And I actually met Russell Brand there, which was
mate, how do you read these books? Do you open them from the back? No, you open them from the front, right?
I just wanted to get that out of you. It was just in passing, like we shared a stage together.
Which era? Which era of Brand? What year?
This was 2019. Summer 2019. Pretty recent.
I was into that Brand.
Yeah.
I've missed out on him last like 2 years. I haven't tuned in.
Yeah, he's getting into conspiracy stuff. A little annoying during a global pandemic, but generally I was before that I was into his stuff. But I'm also overly sensitive about that stuff. But it was this wonderful festival. It was funny because there was this whole, so I was brought in by this guy who was like, he had seen Psychonautics. We had met in New York, and he brought me there for that and this Azora festival to like talk about psychedelics and stuff. And he was like, so I thought you and I could have a conversation about, this is after he booked me, already paid me like a deposit and everything. And he's like, yeah, we'll have a conversation about how consciousness is like primary, and the universal. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm not into that. Like, that's not my position. And so like, oh, now we're having a debate. You booked me to debate you. And without
that's a fun debate though. It's a fun debate. Boring without that other side to push back.
We're actually you and I are having that conversation next month for the Patreon suggested episode. One of our Patreon members suggested that we have that very conversation, which I really look forward to. That's coming in November. This is a public episode suggested by Patreon members. This was from what I love about this. There's a lot of things that I like about the Patreon thing, but our community has really influenced the show. And so I'll just, this is from Shauna Gardner. She said, since we're in the Halloween season, what do you think about ghost hauntings? Do you have any stories? I'm kind of on the fence about all of it. There's something going on when it comes to hauntings, but it's hard to find solid scientific evidence. And then Benjamin Bedley also seconded that and liked the idea of us talking about UFOs and ghosts and Bigfoot and stuff. And it's and now we decided to do 2 Halloween episodes. It's an idea so good. You know what idea is good when you kick yourself for not having it. I was like, yeah, why didn't I? that would have really been dropping the ball had we not done an awesome Halloween episode with us in pumpkins and dressed up in funny costumes and stuff.
It would have been embarrassing.
It would have been embarrassing
to do a regular episode dressed normally and just talk about like how monkeys can hold on to branches for so long or whatever. How do they do it? Well, they have not just quick twitch and slow twitch muscle fibers. They actually have a medium twitch muscle fiber, which is great for hanging. Our ancestors actually used these to hang from what we would call trees today, but they did not call trees. They called they called them.
Once you put a mask on, you really start making noises. You become a real noise machine. There's a lot of freedom under that mask.
Yep, Michael Winslow under here. I got to check in with Michael Winslow. I don't know what he's been up to since like 1992.
He's been touring a bunch.
Even during COVID?
I don't know about during COVID, but he was just on America's Got Talent.
Oh, hell yeah.
Trying
as
to,
a judge?
Revive his career. No, like trying to like, he's like, yeah, I've been out of the public scene for decades or whatever. And so
I hope he's doing well.
Be my oh man, he brought me so much joy in my childhood. Those Police Academy movies.
He was everyone's favorite, like by far, to the point where it would be lame if you picked him as your favorite, like Michael Jordan. You got to go with no, Rodman. No, Pippen. No, I like Tony Kukoc. But if
you could pick Bobcat, but like everyone really knew that Michael Winslow was the star of those movies.
Hey guys, what is that voice? He would just go. Hey! Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. I forgot that one. Did you ever hear about
Did I just do my first impression better than you? Holy smokes.
Well, other than Dave Waite, but Dave Waite doesn't count.
Oh yeah.
Because that's your like bingo free square.
That was the I did an impression better than Ramin bell, not the Dave Waite doesn't count bell.
That's awesome. I hope to hear that bell many times to come. But I was going to say, have you heard the story of Bobcat and his daughter? Apparently, like Bobcat hates being recognized and interacted with in public, and his daughter loves to rip on him for it. And they'll be walking in the mall or grocery store, and she'll just be like, Bobcat Goldthwait? And just call attention to him at the worst
That's
times.
Hilarious. I really liked, back when I used to listen to stand-up obsessively, I don't anymore, but anyhow, he had a really good album that came out, I don't know, probably 10 years ago now, and it was the title of the album was based on a story where he had a woman come up to him in an airport, and she goes, I don't mean to insult you, but has anyone ever told you that you look like a Bobcat Goldthwait?
Yeah, I remember that one.
To insult you. That's amazing. So funny.
Oh yeah,
it was a great album too, by the way. I highly recommend it. I mean, who knows if it aged well, but I loved it at the time.
It's fun to go back in the 80s and 90s and just go into that era, because it's beyond gone now. Everything is so different, and I'm not even talking about you can't say that anymore. Right. I mean, just the feel of it, like the way it's recorded, the way people spoke, because then it becomes cheesy and it becomes integrated into the thing, and we move on, but then it becomes, nostalgic. So it's fun to nostalgize.
Like the 70s, I think, are always, at least for the foreseeable future, I think for our lifetime, the 70s will kind of stay present, like the hippie, new agey kind of stuff that came out of it. even if it has like a downturn for a while, it'll come back again, and the bell bottoms will make a comeback. And that sort of style will come. I don't see the 80s style making a big comeback. There's going to be a couple people that'll sport it because they'll like get to stick out in the same way that you might see a guy walking down the street wearing a huge leather long coat and a crazy deformed top hat. That's 120 years old, but I don't think that the 80s will come raring back as a normal style.
No, but as nostalgia, it's here forever, because when you think of a retro nostalgia party, the 80s is the ultimate nostalgia decade.
It's just so fucking weird. It was, and I don't know if it's because like there's plenty of weird stuff in like the 50s felt like iconic in a way. Like it was strange and stuff was outdated and everything, but it felt like it was like a caricature of something, like a Mad Men or Leave It to Beaver sort of thing. It was like it was like modern humans and Americans trying to figure out what the prototypical like white picket fence nuclear family was supposed to be and look like, and it was like almost too cookie cutter and almost like a little too forced. At least that's what it looks like looking back through probably for the people of the time it wasn't as extreme as it seems on Mad Men or something.
Yeah, and it's like post-war, so it's the first time you really settle in. I mean, that's a pretty inaccurate broad statement, but as long as we're making broad statements, that's what that decade is. 60s is the counterculture decade. 70s is the like putting the counterculture back a little bit. Some Nixon, some disco. Then 80s is like fuck disco. Let's burn the disco records. It's all about new wave. It's about punk rock, and then AIDS kills hair metal, kills new wave, and then it becomes grunge, Seattle, sad, rainy. Then that becomes Frosted Tips, becomes rap rock, comes Woodstock 99, then 9/11 kills Frosted Tips, kills rap rock, then it goes back to
the best. That was it. You just made 9/11 sound so good. That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said about 9/11.
I guess it is.
Frosted Tips.
It did. It killed puka shell necklaces and Frosted Tips. People started wearing eyeliner afterwards and wearing black, and it was different. I think it's fascinating the way music syncs up to world events.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's arbitrary. I think the air changes and then the music gets sadder or happier or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then this is it. If I had to guess, I think how I'm dressed right now is like English 1920s. I think that's around the time that they were estimating, maybe even a little older than that. But it's kind of crazy to think like this was normal for people to wear. I mean, this is like when a top hat turns 120, there's like lots of problems with it. And there's ways of fixing it, but I kind of like how deformed it is. But yeah, I was in Port Elliot at this festival, and so they have all these like artsy booths and stuff like that. And I'm walking by, and I saw I was with like a lady at the time, and I was walking by there's this table filled with all these crazy old English hats, and I was like, look at this. And then I just saw like the biggest, most ridiculous top hat, and I was like, wouldn't this be funny? And I put this on for a joke, and then I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh damn, I own a top hat now.
This is who I am.
This is who I am.
This reminds Stanley Jordan, the guitar player. Me and Michael Garfield are big fans of him.
No.
But he talks about going to somewhere in Europe and just seeing a dress and like thinking, you know, I'm in Europe right now and no one knows me and like I can do whatever I want. And he just was really resonated with this dress and like put it on. He's like, this is Stanley. This is who I am. And he like from then on just began wearing dresses, like grew his hair longer, but he just had that moment of like, I can expand outside of my identity to not just wear dude clothes.
I'm so pro expansion. Yeah, you never know. This jacket.
And he's a ridiculous guitarist. He's sick. He's just
what's his name again?
Stanley Jordan. He plays it like the piano, like his tapping. He invented a new kind of tapping that's I don't know. No one's really touched it since. Or that's not true. A lot of people, like you can go on Instagram and see two-year-old kids playing better than Eddie Van Halen. But, you know,
right.
As far as innovating, it's a big evolutionary leap.
Yeah. Interesting.
So yeah, that hat is your dress. You're like, this is me.
Well, and then I like wore it around for a while, and it actually looked really good when I was like clean shaven and stuff. It almost looked like less insane than it does right now, and more because now I got so much going on. Like the hair and the beard's already like pushing like a homeless-ish look pretty far. So having like this weird deformed top hat on is like maybe a bit much, but I went back and and then I saw this like leather coat, and I was like, I had the same reaction. I put it on. This was a 3-day long. Have you ever had a purchasing, like a clothes purchasing decision that lasted a really long time? I went back to the booth. I was like, if it's still there tomorrow, I'll think about it. And then on the last day, I was like, okay, I'll do it. And then I ruined it.
The thing is, if you went back and it was gone, you would have been like, I should have gotten it.
Yeah.
It's like you can never win. You're like, it'll be a sign I should get it if it's still there. And if it's not there, you torture yourself.
It was only like €200 or something like that. And it was like missing a bunch of stuff. I hate that
Euro doesn't have S after it. It always bugs me.
Yeah.
When they never say it's like 600 euros. It's like, no, it's 600 euro.
I'm thrilled to find out I said it correctly, because I wouldn't have been shocked if I hadn't. I had to replace the buttons. I just went into the first, like, I don't know if you can see these buttons, but they're kind of crazy and like specific. They actually look like hot cross bun or something. But anyway,
yeah, they are cool.
I went into the first like sewing shop or whatever those things are called that I came across. I just Googled it, stopped in, and I was like, do you have anything that would work to replace like this? It only has this one button left, something that would work like this. And they're like, oh, we have those exact buttons. Like it's like 120 years. They haven't upgraded the buttons in England. They're still rocking these things. And then nice. I hope this isn't too boring of a close conversation, but
especially for the people just with audio.
Yeah.
But like, I hate this run. This is the worst run I've ever had with these clowns, but I can't change the song because my iPod is in my pocket and it's zipped up and I'm running.
Things are going to get real exciting real soon, guys. But I will say that I'll just share with you when I ruined this. So the inside was just a tattered mess. And so I was like, I'm going to splurge and get the lining replaced, which is like $200 to do. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go like a dark purple, a purple where like, if you look close enough, you see that it's purple, but it's hard to see. And they picked the wrong purple for me. And I got magician purple. And so now I can't wear this thing anywhere because it's fucking magician purple. $200. They did a beautiful job. They kept the original pockets and everything in just the dumbest color.
I can see how purple that is through this, and I can't see anything through this. But when you opened it, like the world just became more purple. Oh, and you said your thing is from 1920. Mine is from 2015 because I'm rocking a Not Safe with Nikki Glazer hoodie.
That's wow. Would you go to a live taping or something?
No, actually, it's Maria Bamford's, and she didn't want it, and she gave it to Catherine, and then Catherine didn't want it, or maybe didn't want it, but I just kind of took it and made it my own for this costume.
I love it.
So yeah, it's like three degrees of separation away.
Do you have a sense of what you are in that costume? Are you like the Grim Reaper, or
yeah, I think Grim Reaper. I mean, it's got a little bit of Skeletor, but it's more Grim Reaper. I think Grim Reaper would have a bigger hood, and of course the Sith or the Scythe or whatever the thing used for. I used to think it was to decapitate people, but apparently it's to mow the lawn. That's what it's historically for, and like it's the metaphor of the lawn needs to be cut and then more lawn grows, and he's not about killing people, he's about keeping the lawn well trimmed, and that's what dying is. You're just some grass that needed to be cut, and then more grass will grow where you are no longer.
It's a very collectivist attitude.
Oh yeah, I am a big collectivist, said the Grim Reaper. Or Ronald is what his name is.
You can call me Ronald. You're the Grim Reaper. You can call me Ronald if you want. That's the Grim Skeletor.
Grim Skeletor, yeah.
So, welcome to the second Halloween episode, everybody. I'm very excited. We have this Morbid Curiosity Scale that we're going to get into. First, I want to answer this Patreon question specifically, and I think it will lead quite nicely into. And then we're gonna maybe talk about horror movies a couple of horror movies that we enjoy or grew up with, and then get into this. We're gonna do another fun questionnaire. And we're trying to do one questionnaire a month because they're super fun. October got to be a heavy questionnaire month, so I hope we're not overdoing a good thing, but this one is super fun. I just took it on Here We Are recently, and it's really getting into some of the psychology of what makes us tick from our inclination toward like recreational horror and fear and that sort of thing. Really interesting. So first question from Shauna Gardner, Ramin, what do you think about ghosts and hauntings? And do you have any stories? Actually,
no stories of it, but I believe that there's something afoot, but I don't know what it is. And I think it could be anywhere from the standard like old spirits trapped in between here and the next realm, or it could be like a space-time kind of thing where like parts of 100 years ago are in some kind of space-time vortex and echoing, just the way that, you know, gravitational waves or sound or something like can echo throughout time. I think there could easily be a very physics explanation for it that we just think is woo-woo, but then later on it's like, oh no, it's just the echoes of space-time. We think space-time is still, but it's actually wobbling, and then so parts of it echo into this haunted house or something. But honestly, I don't know a lot about that world. I haven't watched a lot of the ghost hunter things or heard, but oftentimes it's correlates to traumatic events, right? Like if someone was murdered somewhere, then there's something weird going on there.
Yeah. So I almost have the exact opposite take, which is like, I don't believe, but I had like, I had it was like a 3-second moment. Yeah, you know, but
nice.
But it was strange for that I dismissed immediately, but it was in my adult life, and I was kind of surprised that it got me, and I think it has to do with priming more and everything. I mean, I guess some of the logic of of like, are there ghosts around haunting and stuff? It's just like, I don't know, why wouldn't everything be a ghost then? And why wouldn't there be like ghost ants and beetles and dolphins and every other ghost around? And there's plenty other species that have had horrifying deaths and whatnot too. But
are there not? Maybe we just don't listen to them, or they're not notable.
Like, you got to be a dolphin to see ghost dolphins.
Yeah.
Maybe. But I did have, and this is also related to when I went full time as a comedian, which I'm kind of surprised that I've never told on this show before. Maybe I have, so you guys are going to hear a repeat, but
I don't think you have.
I don't think that I have. So I was in Boston. I had gotten, I had taken this. I did a factory job when I first moved there, and I took this other job that was supposed to be long term. Turned out business went down after Christmas, and they laid me off, so I got to collect some unemployment for a little while, which was awesome as a comic that was starting out and trying to get a bunch of stage time and whatnot. And then I started getting like little construction jobs and labor jobs. I went to a temp agency. I built cubicles in a place. I did a bunch of things. We'll do a whole work episode and past occupation.
You built
episode.
Prisons. Damn.
Yeah. And I was
think of how much unhappiness you made.
Yeah, that is, well, it's also, companies went with the open layout for a while too, and it turns out that's also a nightmare situation, because then you have a boss looking over your shoulder and seeing what you're doing all the time and no privacy. And so cubicles and mini office, so it's I
had my own office in a world where no one, or at a company where no one got their own office except for the main owners, but like I somehow negotiated my way into one because I was feeling very confident in the negotiation, but there was people that had worked there for like decades, and I was just like, hey, I'm the new guy here. My office.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was working at this construction site as a temp laborer. It was hilarious because I was there for like a week, and they were asking me if I wanted to be a supervisor, like a full-time supervisor of the other temp workers, and work for the company full-time, because that's how shitty temp workers are. Like, if you show up 5 days in a row, they're like, wow, we got to keep her. But I didn't. I wanted part-time. I was just starting to do road work and stuff at the time. And I'm doing this shitty like labor. You'd pick up a bunch of like garbage and stuff, and sweep up and do stuff like that, lug things around when people needed things. And I would always see these security guys that I would talk to here and there, I was friendly with. They knew I was a comedian. And one day I was like, you guys never do anything. How can I do that? And they're like, we'll give you a job. You can work security. And so I worked security at it was this huge construction company that this was like 7 big, in Austin where there'll be like 7 huge apartment buildings, all with like, a couple pools around it or whatever. And
luxury
like
artist loft living. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were building those. And so it was huge. And so the security company was kind of a sham. It was basically the construction company needed to show evidence that they had security there to catch a break on the insurance. The insurance required it. Otherwise, insurance was a lot more expensive. So they just paid for the cheapest construction company or security company that they could. And I was literally told to not do anything. I was told is just like stay out of the way. We just like need people here. I pretty much got to pick my own hours or own shifts or whatever anyway. I picked a lot of overnight ones. I'd sleep in the car. So they didn't even tell you not to sleep. They said, don't get caught sleeping. That's their words, were don't get caught sleeping. And there's a booth you could sleep in. They didn't give you a car, uniform, nothing. You were just there. And I would usually like sneak off and go to shows on the overnight shift and come back. I would write the whole time there. Well, the site itself was built on this. There's like this old, like insane asylum that was actually historic. It was one of these where they couldn't rip down the entire building. They had to keep the structure of like the outside intact because it was historic. But this site was the subject of all of these horror tales and stuff like that. There was some B horror movie made about it. Teenagers would often like party up there and stuff like that before this construction project. And I actually one night when I was sleeping in my car, and like the gate was supposed to be closed, I woke up and I looked and the gate was open and there was snow outside and there's like a big gate. The gate was open and there wasn't any tracks or any footsteps. And for like 3 seconds, I was like, oh, is it a ghost? And then I was like, nope, that's dumb. The gate just came open or whatever. And I was sleeping. That's the closest I've ever came to believing in a ghost. And it was like 3 hours of me being sleepy or three seconds of like waking up, being sleepy and disoriented, but being primed with all of these horror stories. And I think the priming part is important. I have an aunt who thinks like she can know when a house is haunted and stuff, and she thinks that it's because she was born on Halloween that she has this like supernatural ability to like detect when there's another aunt.
So if you're born on Christmas, you know when someone's about to give you a present. Did you get me a present? How did you know I was going to surprise you?
Which it doesn't. I don't think ghosts care about the human construct of Halloween, which switched around days from its origin and everything else. But if you are born on Halloween, it was originally like November 1st, and then it switched around that time a little bit, right? But if it was
April 7th, that wouldn't be spooky at all.
Well, it needs to be right before winter. It needs to be during the scariest time, when you're going to go into the hard winter and food is going to be scarce and people die easier and everything else. But if you're born, 60 years ago or however old she is, and you're born on Halloween, and Halloween has like a little more significance to you, and the stuff that comes along with Halloween has a little more significance to you, I think you can be primed a little bit more to believe those sorts of things. And her sister as well, her nickname, my other aunt's name was Boo, because she used to try to scare people a lot when she was little. And the same thing, like her sister is born in Halloween was probably a little more of a to-do at that time when they were kids. And also my grandma's like a pretty like superstitious and dogmatic person. And so I think a lot of these things, I would bring it up because I think a lot of these things can just be primed more in various ways. And it tends to change with the times. Like like one thing we didn't talk about in the evolution of creatures last week was the succubus, the incubus and the succubus, which was the...
Which one is the guy? I think the incubus is the...
I think the incubus is the guy.
So it inks and then the sucks you. And then the incubus...
I think the succubus is a female.
Is it heteronormative? Because can the succubus come to the females at night, and can the incubus come to the males at night, or do they only go to the opposite sex?
Succubus is the female form, and I think they didn't even consider a gay ghost. They probably would have been a lot more scared back in the whatever 1600s or 1400s or whatever in the medieval times. But some of it is they think it's. Have you ever experienced
sleep paralysis? Just a couple times. Where I couldn't move, but I was awake, and there was a thing like floating above me. I could have said that as a ghost story, but I just knew what heard the term sleep paralysis, and that fit right in with it. So I always categorize that under that. But oh man, is that one a spooky one?
It is spooky. So your body shuts down. It goes into paralysis when you're sleeping, so you don't. Mike Birbiglia and think you're in a dream running away from something and jump out of a hotel window or whatever on a second story is what would happen if our bodies didn't shut down. And so because
he literally has to make himself into a burrito every night to avoid that. He has to go into a sleep bag and like zip it up to his nose.
And once in a while your body doesn't wake up. You wake up before your body wakes up. And that's a scary feeling. And consciousness creates these like exaggerated worst case scenarios of what's happening. And you're still like half asleep and half dreaming. And so there's speculation where that's where the origin of you also, if you're a guy, you also wake up aroused. Often. And so if you have an erection,
not as much as before, but yeah.
But it is kind of a funny thing to imagine. Like you wake up, you can't move, and you just know that you're like aroused. or maybe had a wet dream or something like that. And then the story that you concoct is I guess a demon got in here at night and sucked me off, which that would have me into like witchcraft and stuff so quick. If there was some magic, like I could light a couple candles and like some ghost demon lady would come and like have her way with me at night when I'm sleeping. I just got to wake up to that. Like, oh, awesome. I just got laid in my sleep by a demon sorcerer ghost thing. Incredible.
A high status woman.
She chose me. She could have gone into anyone's bedroom.
And she's famous. They've written about her.
Yeah. And it's for
There's
like
images.
Like presumably she's doing it for like your essence or like powers or what. So like it really speaks to your essence, It's like, wow.
Yeah, take it.
I guess I have like a lot more going on than I thought. I got demons hounding me for my essence.
Yeah, please take my essence. It's not even worth the gas money to get here. It's like when they rob you, it's like, there's only there's $2 in here. Like, yeah, sorry.
So here's the end of this story. What happened was the night that I was on Conan for the first time. So I'd won this award at a comedy festival. It was a really big first break. I got like a representation and stuff.
The Boston Festival?
HBO US Aspen Comedy Arts Festival.
Aspen, was even bigger.
Last year of it was all these big like John Mulaney was in it, and TJ Miller, and was Hannibal there? There was just a ton of like
captains of industry.
Yeah, like people that are all doing better than me now. And I won this award. Kirk Fox and I both won this award. And
you might be doing better than Mulaney. No, he's probably fine now.
I think he's doing okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think he's doing just fine. I'd be curious to know just how bad his actual issues are, because I think he just like, he's kind of a straight-laced dude, really. I like John a lot. He's awesome. He even texted me out of the blue like a few years ago and said like some really nice. I was like, wow, that's awesome. John Mulaney just texted a wonderful compliment out of the blue.
Nice.
But anyway, I got all this attention and buzz. I just kind of came out of nowhere, and I got to go on Conan in short order. And it's my first, so I don't have the night off. So I take the night off. I'm going on Conan. And what happened the night that I was on Conan was that some kids snuck on to this construction site, as they used to before there was construction there, to have a drinking party. And then one of the kids turned on the gas in two of the huge apartment buildings that were like unfinished, and they blew up. They exploded. Like I'm talking like 40, like 30, 40 apartments in a building.
Shit.
Two buildings exploded. There was buildings like nearly a football field away, that all the windows had broken out, the siding had melted off, and so sweet teenage prank, quite the gag, and then there was, so a police officer saw this huge explosion, because it was on this hill, and starts driving up there. Calls the the fire department and everything, and gets to the top, and the security guard is sleeping in his car. There are just two buildings had just detonated behind him. There's fires behind him, and the security guard is sleeping in his car, which definitely would have been me, or I would have been out at a gig or something. And so then they ended up, it was an incredible amount of damage. I saw it afterwards. It was insane. And they looked into the security company, and then they just dissolved. Basically, they just were like, they didn't have the right licensing or whatever, and they just were no longer a company, and so I didn't have a job anymore. And I was like, I was just on Conan, and now I'm looking through the help wanted ads. Fuck this. I'm just, who cares? I'm just gonna go for it and do whatever it takes to be a full-time and that's when I became a full-time comedian.
Nice.
Yeah.
The origin story. That's the 2000s to 2010s true experience of late night, because the 70s was all about getting Carson and getting a sitcom, and then you've got a career or a holding deal. But ours was all about getting a TV spot and then immediately going back to your job the next day and realizing, oh, I'm the same. Nothing happened. I'm still here. This was 2007, and I had 8 appearances within a year from the time I did Conan until which was in April, until the following year. And I got Conan just before my 3rd year of doing comedy. And so people were also like excited that I was doing well so soon. And then, so I had 8 appearances in the first year. So that was part of it too, that I just racked up a bunch of credits and there was some buzz going on. 8 TVs, right? Not 8 Conans.
8 TV appearances.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to say 8 Conans. That's nuts.
Did I say 8 Conans? No,
I just assumed.
I had another Conan like 6 months later. But
did you do Letterman?
No, never did Letterman. No. I did Kimmel. I think a year I did this 2 appearances on this BBC World Stands Up thing. I did Playboy TV, which I talked about on here.
Yeah.
And there's like a couple other small Comedy Central,
Premium Blend or whatever.
Live at Gotham.
That's it. Live at Gotham.
And I was able to be a full-time headliner on the road, like squeak by, just barely. But I was getting a decent amount of bookings and everything. But that was like, yeah, you're right. It used to be if Johnny Carson invited you to come and sit on the couch, then you were set for life. And this was like, okay, if you get 8 appearances in a year and you have a lot of buzz because you haven't been doing it that long, you can headline on
the B Club.
The road. Yeah.
In a state no one's heard of.
Right. So yeah, that's when I became a full-time comedian, and it had to do with ghost stories.
Yeah, see, the ghosts are the reason you became a comedian. Thus, ghosts are 100% real. Which, it's weird having any sort of attempt to make the metaphysical into the physical, I think, is impossible, but that doesn't rule out the metaphysical as a phenomenon. It's still there. It's almost like a joke the universe plays, a permanent mystery. Like, it's still going to be here, but it's a mystery and you're never going to solve it. So as much as you'd like to write it off in this way and this way, we're going to provide exceptions to those rules too. And it might just be the cosmic humor of everythingness, just being like, here's a permanent mystery for you.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we are a very, very, very long way from having much of anything figured out. That much is certain. So before we start this Morbid Curiosity Scale, which, by the way, listeners, viewers, if you want to follow along, just Google Morbid Curiosity Scale. But there's and if you want to know more about it, you can listen to the Here We Are episode that I had with Coltan Scrivner. It's on his site. I wanted to talk a little bit about horror movies. Are you a horror fan at all?
I'm not a fan, but I'm not a not fan either. I mean, I've seen the Freddy Kruegers, the Jasons, the Friday the 13th, I guess is the Jasons. I've seen the Saws. I've seen the scary movies. I've seen I Know What You Did Last Summer. I mean, some new Korean ones. Train to Busan, I guess, is a horror movie. What are some big genres I'm missing? Train
to Busan?
Yeah, Busan. Or no, Train to Busan. Not Busan. Busan is an ice cream place here in East LA. Busan. Train to Busan.
So there's the found footage stuff, like
Blair Witch. Yeah, I remember Blair Witch when it was new, 1999.
Paranormal Activity, I think, was one of those as well.
That's the videotape. Oh, Ring and Ringu are very good. I guess I have seen a lot of horror movies. I guess I just don't think about them a lot. I see them and I go, that was fun, but then I don't think about them the way I think of Star Wars or Star Trek, where I'm doing mythologies in my head. I'm like, oh, what would have happened if Anakin survived? What would have happened?
Yeah. I think I feel the same way. I've seen enough of them. Like, I'll watch them if I'm in a particular mood. Like, I'll check this out. Usually I watch horror movies in the same way that there's what's like like I'll order oysters from time to time. And it's like a dare to myself, and I like do it. I'm like, oh, that was silly, and never know why I eat those things. Who would like that? I just swallowed a booger as a dare to myself.
You are an adventurous eater, and I think we've talked about it before, but one time we ordered food and you got chicken giblets or something, or you got something where I was like, oh, you like that? And you're like, never tried it. I'm like, what is it? You're like, I don't know. I'm just an adventurous eater. And then you get it, you're like, they're okay. But you intentionally go out of your way to try new food experiences.
I was once, it was my very first time in New York, and I was, so I'm like 21, and I'm in Chinatown for the first time, never experienced anything like that. And I had some weed, and I'm very high, and I didn't smoke very much weed at the time. It was past my weed prime, but I was like, oh, I'm in New York. I'm going to get drugs on the street and try some. And I'm in this restaurant, and I'm super high, and I didn't handle weed very well anymore. Made me really paranoid and stuff. And I'm in a new big city. I've never experienced it by myself. And I was like going there with a friend, and then he kind of ditched me for a lady, which was fine. But I'm by myself in this big city. I'm in this Chinese restaurant.
Did they just go do it behind a dumpster or something? Where did they ditch you to?
He was going out there to like meet up with a girl, and then it ended up being like a much longer and bigger thing than he originally sold me on. Which is fine. I love doing things by myself.
I love the bro code of like anytime it's anything relating to going and hooking up or something. It's like, oh, I'm gonna go look at a picture of a lady, and you're like, haha, nice. Yep. You go get it, bro. I'm gonna go look at someone who's looking at a picture of a lady that someone drew. Nice, go get it.
Yeah, I know that we've spent months planning this, and this is like all of the money that you saved for this trip. But so I'm by myself. I'm very high in this Chinese restaurant, and I ordered beef tendon, and then I was just like, "What's this? Oh, I'll try it." And then I see like some of the workers over by the counter, like are they looking at me? Like they're acting strange. Like one of them's pointing at me, and I'm like, do they know I'm high? Are they gonna call it? Do they smell the weed on me? Are they gonna call the cop? I'm like, they're definitely looking at me. They're definitely, and then like one of them comes over, and they're like, what did you order? And I was like, the beef tendon. And then they go back again, and then and excuse the hacky Chinese accent. That's just literally how they sounded. But they finally, like, this old lady comes over to me, and I'm like very paranoid. Like there's SWAT teams bursting through the windows in my head. I'm like looking for a back door and stuff in case the cops come, like so high. And she comes over, and she's like, you order the beef tendon? And I was like, yep. And she's like, beef tendon is like, you know what it is? I'm like, not really. And she's like, it's like this on arm. And I'm like, okay. And then she's like, it's like a stringy kind of a, and I was like, cool, all right. And then she just goes, you don't want the beef tendon. And I was like, oh, thank you, that's awesome. That's so fucking cool. I wish more restaurants would correct your orders. Like, you got to be a fucking weirdo to eat that thing.
They do that with spicy. They do that with spicy a lot, where you're like, I'll take it hot, and they're like, no, you won't. And like, but I like it. They're like, yeah, this is your first rodeo. I can just tell by the way you sat down that you're not one of us. That. You can't take it. Yeah. I'll give you a mild plus like a little pinch of it, and then I'll have the paramedic.
I like the outside. No bullshit. Let us do our job. We want a satisfied customer. We want you to enjoy your experience.
Yeah.
Don't order dumb shit. We're going to stop you from ordering making bad ordering decisions. I love that. But
they're probably just tired of calling the ambulance or having people ask for more water than they have available.
So poor horror movies. Owner. I think so, I tried to, like, when I was a kid, I would try to get into the Friday the 13th and the Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff. And I just always thought they were like so goofy, and they just didn't. It's kind of like humor where the Peter McGraw's benign violation theory of finding that sweet spot. Things are either too benign to be funny or too much of a violation to be funny for a given individual. And that's that overlap in the middle of just the perfect amount of like a little bit of a violation, but still safe is where the magic happens. In horrors like that, you want to be, you don't want it to be like dumb or goofy, and you don't want it to be so scary. I don't think I've ever seen anything that's been too scary for me, but I'm like such an adrenaline junkie. But I will say, I think the Blair Witch, I think, was maybe the first horror movie ever where I was like, oh, that was different. That actually had me. And
it was a new format at the time.
Yeah, caught me off guard. And especially people,
and they actually scared those people. Like they did actual I don't forget exactly what, but they made sure they were really scared. They primed them to be actually scared out in those woods.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I remember reading something about that, how they intentionally isolated them and messed with their heads and stuff to get authentic reactions. So forcing them into method acting somewhat. Yeah.
That's so cool. And it's I like those forms of like, didn't they do that to Leonardo DiCaprio in that one where he's like frozen and gets half eaten by a bear and stuff?
What's that? The end of Titanic, which I didn't see. Because he freezes at the end of Titanic, but I missed the bear. But that would be great if a bear floated on a different door. Because it's the Titanic. They've got everything. And the bear just comes and eats the frozen Leo popsicle. It's probably not Titanic. Which movie are you talking about?
Bear movie. The Reverend.
Gotcha.
The Revenant.
Darth Revan, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like him being like going through this brutal survival situation, and I guess that they made him like truly like kept him in a freezer most of the time, like when they weren't filming.
They did something like that with The Shining too. The actress in The Shining, apparently she was very psychologically tortured for that and never recovered.
Oh, The Shining. There we go. That one got me. I mean, I loved The Shining. Yeah. I did love The Shining.
And the book is apparently next level, which is such a cliche thing to say, but I hear the book is even more scary.
By the way, fortunately, one of our there was a I love Kubrick so much, but there was one of our fans fortunately corrected me. I don't know why I thought One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was Stanley Kubrick. I guess I said that in a past episode.
Who is it, Mindy Kaling or what?
The director?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Probably not. It's probably not Mindy Kaling, but it's the director. I don't know. Morgan Freeman's in it, right?
It's Milos Forman.
Okay, no, I don't know that one.
Died at 86. Yeah, The Shining got me. Okay, I stand corrected. And then I guess there was things as like if you consider Clockwork Orange a horror movie,
that's Kubrick too.
Then like that was one of my favorite films ever. Like that was, holy crap, talking about pushing buttons and like feeling something. Wow, that was one of my favorites. But yeah, I don't, none of the, like I tried watching The Witch. I didn't like Parasite. I didn't like The Witch as much as everyone else did. I didn't like Parasite as much as everyone else did.
Oh really? I love Para.
I thought it was enjoyable enough.
That's more of a thriller than a horror, right?
Yeah.
I know we're splitting hairs
kind of
here, but Get Out is a thriller, not a horror. But Get Out is kind of horror too.
Yeah, Get Out's kind of horror. And Parasite becomes horror, I think, like toward the end.
But there's nothing supernatural about it, right?
Yeah.
It's all natural.
I forget what happened at the end. There was like, it kind of took like a strange turn right at the end. I'm having trouble remembering it now. But, yeah, so I don't know. I guess we're both on the same page of like, they're fine enough. We'll watch them. Maybe you like horror movies just ever so slightly more than I do, but we both like them about as much.
Just a hair, just the tiniest mosquito dick hair.
I really enjoyed. I remember liking the Evil Dead movies and the ones that like had a little more play with them. And this is my boomstick. That when I was a teenager, that stuff cracked me up. And I liked Shaun of the Dead a lot. I thought
that was fun.
I thought that was really fun and clever. I just that beginning scene when they're like oblivious to zombies being around was like, oh, that's such a perfect joke.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a good mechanism. And it was like really the highlight of the movie. I didn't think the rest of the movie was like that amazing.
I saw it twice and I don't even remember the second half.
Yeah, but that first beginning of like throwing the records at the lady in the backyard and stuff was fucking hilarious. That got me.
I don't even think I've seen Dawn. I only saw Shaun.
I think I enjoyed Hot Fuzz, but I don't really remember it.
Same actor, right?
Yeah, same guy.
Sean Penn, Sean Purstonford.
Yeah, we're gonna say you nailed it.
Simon Cowan.
I think you might have been closer there. I'm not gonna Google this one.
My friend Doug just had him in his movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my friend Doug. Both our friends, Doug. He made a quarantine movie, and and he's got the guy from Shaun of the Dead in the movie, but I forget his name. But that's neither here nor there.
Wow. Okay, so I'll just quick try to. So Colin's website was down. So basically, I'll just read like just a little bit of the abstract. I don't want to. You know what? I don't want to blow anything. We'll just hop right into it. This is meant to measure where you fall on some different dimensions. And unfortunately, the actual website, which happens to be down at the time that we're doing this, just bad luck. But we'll be able to get a general score, but usually you'd be able to be rated in 4 dimensions. We'll just take a guess at it afterwards and we'll calculate our overall score. But it's 1 through 6. There's not a 7. You know how much I like the neutral score, but I asked him about that. I advocated for the neutral score. I made my case for it, and he made a pretty good point, which was he wanted to see, like, you know, if pressed, which side would you fall on, even if it was a little bit, like, because neutral. Too many people will put themselves in a neutral category.
It's a crutch. It's such a crutch. It
is a bit of a crutch. So it was a good point. I enjoyed that. So this is 1 through 6, going from what do we say? Strongly disagree to agree to, strongly disagree to is 1. 2 would be disagree. 3 would be somewhat disagree. 4 would be somewhat agree. 5 would be agree, and 6 is strongly agree.
Okay, so there are some neutrals. They're just neutrals, like moderate left, moderate right.
You still got to pick a side, though.
Yeah, left of center is what they would call it.
no fence sitting on this one. All right. So question number 1. If I lived in medieval Europe, I'd be interested in attending a public execution. You go first.
Disagree.
Disagree?
Yeah.
See, all right. I'm going to put you down for a 2. I'm going 5. I'm agree.
And this is not saying if we time traveled, right? This is like if we were actual humans there.
Oh, I mean, that's a good way of thinking about it.
Because time travel, I mean, I'll strongly agree. I'll go whatever. These people are long dead. Who cares? But if I'm actually living there and then a member of my 12-person village is being hung because they looked at some grapes and thought about stealing them or something, then...
Yeah. Like in terms of something that still happens today, would I go? Yeah, you're right. Like I wouldn't actually go to a public execution today. Although,
I mean, we go to them on Twitter, but we don't. I don't want to see someone like shit their pants and see their death rattles and watch the life leave their eyes.
Well, what I'm interested in is the people watching. I want to get a sense of the vibe, you know? Like I want to see like what kind of food carts they got going on. I want to see the souvenirs and stuff that you can buy. I don't need to see someone's head like actually tumble off in the guillotine.
Yeah. And what's weird is I watch Your Mom's House on YouTube and they show people jumping off of roofs and breaking their heads and bones and all kinds of stuff like that. And if I miss it, I'll rewind. I'm like, wait, what happened in that one? And I'll watch those. But something about real life, like I found myself surprised saying that I disagree about real life stuff.
You know what? That has to do with why people potentially like horror movies. One of the aspects is that it's kind of a benign way that you can take control over this fearful situation. So because you can pause it, because you can look away, you can lower the volume, you can cover your eyes and look through there's various things that you can do. You have a lot more control over the situation, you know? So the idea is maybe that's part of the appeal of horror movies in the first place.
That makes sense.
Interesting that you say that.
Have you seen Your Mom's House? Because I was just thinking about how, so Tom Segura is obsessed with physical injury videos, and then Christina is obsessed with sad single males in their middle-aged TikToks. So they both have their own like very sad kind of morbid thing and often turn each other off with like, oh, please don't show me that. And then please don't show me that injury. And it's a fun dynamic.
That's funny. They're both very funny people. I just don't listen or watch podcasts.
There's not enough time.
It's just not.
Okay, so I'm disagree on that. And you're strongly agree?
Fuck. You know, I thought about it in like a time travel-y way, and then your point is so good. Like, yeah, if I went to a country right now, like, don't get me wrong, I'm very against. That's the thing with all of these. That's where. So I don't want to ruin the study too, but this is how we do studies in a way that you shouldn't actually do studies, which is hashing out and giving like giving some of the info behind what's being measured and whatnot, which is there's like a rubbernecking effect, which is I don't want anyone to die in a car accident or flip over or any like that's fucking horrifying. But you rubberneck, you can't help but kind of look and there's plenty of evolutionary reasons where if you see someone like that just got their arm ripped off in some situation or so, you want to kind of like take that in and make sure it doesn't happen to you.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's much in the same way that people have sexual fantasies about a bunch of things that they would never actually want in real life. I think this is like that times like orders of magnitude. You know, where you kind of, you want to know, like subconsciously know about a jeopardizing situation or some potential threat out there. You don't actually wish that on anyone, or you don't agree with the public execution, but you kind of, you want to peek a little bit.
I watched Saddam Hussein get hanged in 2005 or whenever, where they show that video of him and begging for his life, and like, you know, Allah is good, there is only Allah, and then they push him, and then they, you know, you just see him hang.
I don't think I ever saw that.
There's a video of Gaddafi getting like a knife shoved up his rectum, and he's begging for mercy, and they're like, here's your mercy, and then yeah, all on tape. Good old early 2000s internet.
Knife in the rectum. Wowzers.
Following the mercy plea. But I mean, that guy did some bad stuff. Or I don't know. Sometimes you hear these people and you're like, they were bad dictators, and then you hear from the very anti-American people, it's like, well, actually, they positioned them in a way to make them look bad. So I actually don't know if he was good or bad, but the official story is that he was a bad dictator.
Yeah. And who knows
or
where
Saddam
we stand.
was bad. Saddam was obviously bad, and his sons were very bad.
Yeah.
That's like not debatable. That's very objective.
Yeah, knife in a rectum. I was like, do we need to be so gross about it? Like maybe if there's like seconds left and you need the code to defuse a nuclear weapon or something like that, you just know the old time-tested knife in a rectum. But that's it. We know from talking about the witch trials last week, is like people will confess to anything. You can put words in anyone's mouth and then fucking shove a knife in their rectum, and they'll say whatever you want to for you to not do that again. But if it was something that actually worked, like, okay, well, maybe. But generally speaking, against sticking knives in people's rectums. I mean, just going to put myself out there and say that.
Should we take this test, like, should we invent house rules where it's like house rules is this is time travel, or should we say it's you're actually there as a medieval person? You have no, like, you and I don't do this podcast. I've never seen the internet before. I'm just a regular peasant guy back there.
Well,
or
that's
maybe I'm a
fun.
craftsman. Maybe I'm a normal. I'm a tradesman. I'm not a peasant. I'm like a little bit above a peasant.
Well, doesn't it sort of? I think I like your idea, and there's a couple things I like about it. One, people would have already heard me take the time travel version on Here We Are if they listened to both things.
Oh, and very good.
And two, like, it's part of the cosplay, sort of like the dressing in costume, doing a character. So I think we could do we're actually people there in the scenario, imagining ourselves in that time. All right. Cool. All right. We'll do that. Okay. Number 2, if a head transplant was possible, I would want to watch the procedure.
No, strongly disagree.
Strongly disagree. I think that I'm a 2 for disagree. I think I was thinking of myself as
Isn't
a 4.
Isn't it more of a body transplant? Because if you're getting a head transplant, you're like, you're probably that other guy or gal or non-binary person. Hold on, I'm going to get a new head. Wait a minute, where am I? I should have thought this through. My brain is rotting over there in the waste bin by the vending machine.
It's a body transplant. That's hilarious.
Unless they mean like everything but your brain, so it's like your brain is going into a new head or something. But it's funny to think of just like, here's your new head. Also, you lost your identity. This other head that was sitting in the jar is now taken over.
Yeah. I was taking this with a friend, and I was like, I think I'm a 4 just because I want to I'm just such a curious person. My curiosity overrides. I don't
it's
need
not
to
like
see
making risotto either. It's not like I'm going to remember how to do it. Oh, I got it. I took notes. Now I can do head transplants.
It's not like making risotto. I think that I only need to see one head there's a lot of these questions on here. It's like one head transplant, that's it. And I'm just gonna like peep at it, be like, okay, I get it. Like I gave blood again last week, and I can't even like really look at that much of the time. And that's super clean and not, it's just like your blood in a hose, and it's just not my favorite. Yeah, I kind of peek, see what's going on.
The way it stains the tube, like some of it stick into the tube. You're like, oh.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. But I
just like to look at the clock while it starts to float.
Yeah. But when I said that I was a 4, and she was like, oh, I'll send you this video, this face transplant that I saw. And I was like, yeah, don't do that. Don't ever do that.
It's just a clip from Face Off.
Yeah.
The blockbuster 1994 fit. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess there was like a young man that died in a car accident, and they took his face and put it on some like older guy that had been burned in some fire and was some hero or whatever. And man, that's so weird. Can you imagine being like being someone's, like that kid's parents, and like meeting that guy?
Does it look like him, or is it's kind of different because your skull is different?
Yeah, it's got to be a lot different. I don't know. I was going to look it up. I couldn't get myself to. So maybe like philosophically, I'm a 4, but when pressed, it's like, yeah, maybe I don't have it in me. All the bodily stuff is like, just not. I have a weak stomach. What do you got going on stomach wise? You got like a pretty strong stomach, or?
I guess strong in that it's not going to make me vomit or lose my appetite, but I don't want to see it. It doesn't make me queasy. I just don't want to.
I got a queasiness that I can't get over. And then today someone sent me a picture of this guy. I guess he was in the Arctic, and he is a doctor. And he is like the only surgeon, as in the 1930s or something. And then his appendix ruptured, and he had to operate on himself and pull his own appendix out. Just like fucking incredible. That's crazy street cred if that happens to you.
Man, the will to live is incredible. There's so many instances of this, like when you hear of the guy cutting his arm off, or like performing an appendicitis, or not, appendectomy on yourself. You think that you would just die. You think he would just be like, I'm just going to sit here and die instead.
Yeah.
But the will to live is very strong when you're in that position.
Absolutely. Third question is, I'm curious about crime and enjoy reading detailed news accounts about murderers and other violent crimes.
Disagree.
Your disagree will put you down for a 2. You know, you're kind of rubbing off on me a little bit. I'm at least a 4. I may be a 5 or 6. I just don't, I never do it. And I certainly could if I really wanted to. And so, again, theoretically, it sort of interests me.
I didn't know who Jeffrey Dahmer was until you told me. Yeah. And then you reminded me, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I'd heard of that guy.
I better give me a 5, because I watched both a Dahmer and an Ed Gein movie. I really love the show Mindhunters on Netflix. It's fantastic. I'm interested. I just don't spend much time doing it. So I'm a 5. I think the supernatural is an interesting topic.
5 or whatever, 6.
6, strongly agree. I'm gonna do I'm going to do a 5. I mean, I don't really believe much in the supernatural, but I like thinking about why people have, and that's not to be like condescending or something, by the way. It's like I've had, it's the same with like psychedelics. I've had plenty of experiences where it's like I've felt and seen those very experiences that everyone else reports. It's just that my interpretation of them is like, oh, what other explanations are there?
Yeah. And I mean, believing it is stupid, but also throwing out the data point is stupid too. It's more about like, oh, that's an interesting data point that we haven't been able to really explain yet. Let's keep that over here in the supernatural bin and figure out what this means.
Absolutely. If I lived in ancient Rome, okay, so we actually live in ancient Rome, I would be interested in attending a gladiator fight.
Okay. Now that I've got to agree. I got to check that out.
Are you like a 5 or a 6? Agree?
I'll do 5. I mean, if the tickets are expensive, if I have to give a whole coin to get in, then maybe not. But if I only have to like sell one of my daughters or something, then yeah, sure. I'll sell a daughter. I can always make more. With my Roman wife, Romania. And I'm wearing one of those like little olive leaf Caesar hat things, but like,
yeah, I'm around a 3 or a 2. Just not into spectator sports. I mean, there's a lot of animal cruelty going on. See, the time travel thing bumps me up way more because it's novelty, it's the scarcity of the situation. Whereas if I'm actually living there and that's what everyone else is doing, much like I said at the beginning when I like default knee jerk away from any group think, like people enjoying dancing or Halloween or sports or anything like that. I think that's just in me. That's like in my DNA. That's been there since a very, very early age. And so I think I'm a 2.
Just to go to the Colosseum though and see it before it's ruined, get a hot dog there.
Yeah, I mean, it's
even
true.
The cheap seats are pretty cool.
I've been to the Colosseum. I mean,
have you been in the seats or whatever is in there?
Yeah.
Was it fun or were you?
It was great.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it. Rome generally is terrific. The Colosseum's cool. They even showed like this little area where like the ladies would go to bang gladiators.
Nice.
That would be part of because something like 50% of gladiators were there by choice. I think like 50% were slaves and 50% were like, yeah, I want the status. I want to get laid. I want the money.
What else they got? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they're because they're poor or whatever too. Like Squid Game, which I did just start watching.
Yeah, some people choose to go back because the outside world is just as cruel. So
yeah,
they chose to go back to the organized cruelty.
It would be a rush too. It's pretty high stakes in the old Colosseum.
And I've seen Russell Crowe's Gladiator, so I already know the tactics to win. You just have to be the best general, and then you just beat all the other guys, and then Joaquin Phoenix gives you a thumbs up, and then you win.
That was a really good movie, actually. I remember liking it a lot. I wonder if I'd still like it today, but I remember 20 years ago or whatever that it came out. I thought it was really good.
Do you know what did it a little bit? I think the way so TV used to be really cheesy, and then movies were a step up from TV, and then TV became really good with the dramas and serialized blah, blah, blahs, and then movies kind of became more cheesy compared to TV. So now when you go back and look at a movie from the 90s that you remember being like a serious, well-plotted, well-acted, well-production value movie, you're like, it's a little cornier than I remember, huh?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, now TV's got all that money.
Mm-hmm. But maybe it does hold up. I haven't seen it in a while.
Question 6 of 24. I'd be curious to see how an autopsy is performed.
No. 1.
I'm a 4. See it once. See, there's another situation going on here, which is like, as a comedian, I'm usually like, well, maybe I'll get material out of it, whatever. And so I do. There's in addition to being an adrenaline junkie, there's always like, maybe I'll get a good story out of this. Which
I might change mine to 2, actually.
All right,
instead of 1, because autopsy is not just the dead body, but it's kind of like, here's the dead body, figure out why it died. Like, okay, using only this dead body and my tools over here, I'm going to figure out why this body died.
Now you're bumping me up to like a 5, actually.
Because it's a little mystery thing, or maybe not a murder at all. Maybe it's a natural death, but like it's a mystery that you have to, it's an escape game or something that you have to figure out using just the dead person. Like, it may appear that they died because of the strangulation, but like the stomach shows that they were poisoned before. So this was not a death by strangulation, but rather a poisoning, which was hidden by a strangulation in order to frame someone. The question is why? Why would someone frame the... And then it goes on. But it's probably not that exciting most of the time.
Yeah, I guess it's one autopsy. If you have for that autopsy where you're solving like a real mystery, like a Hannibal Lecter type of, or like some
a Hannibal Buress
really
mystery,
bizarre thing. Yeah. Maybe I'm more of a 5, but I guess I'm gonna stick with the 4. Again, just my weak stomach gets in the way. But I like getting out of my comfort zone too. Like, all right, I'll try dancing a little bit or singing in front of people because it scares me a little. I like doing stuff like that. So I'm at least a 4 with the autopsy. 7, I would be interested in watching a documentary on motives behind real murderers.
That one I'll do a 3.
Okay. I somewhat disagree. I'm a 5. I'm a regular old agree. 8. I'd be interested in attending or watching a video of an exorcism.
6.
You're a 6?
Yeah, an exorcism? That sounds kind of interesting. I've never seen one other than, what's it, The Exorcist?
Yeah, I do. I think that
maybe I'm a 5 because I could probably YouTube that, and I'm not going to.
I'm a 5 for the story for sure.
Yeah. Okay, 5. Me too.
I do like, I'm very comfortable with being awkward. I'm sure it's probably hard for listeners and viewers sometimes that hear me on different things, because I just don't mind feeling or being awkward that much. It's like, it's sort of there's a little bit of a danger. Sometimes it's like, I like long pauses on stage, like, how long can I hold this for? There's like a little bit of a rush to it, and I feel like if I was just sitting there at an exorcism, like, what the fuck am I even doing there? I would be so awkward if I was just in the corner during there's like a demonic possession and an exorcist there, and then I'm just in the corner observing, because like I knew someone that knew someone, and I thought I'd get a little bit of a kick out of it.
Your mother sucks cocks in hell. That's what she says, like, okay.
Right? I have nothing to say back to that.
Oh, good for her. Glad to see if she's doing well. It's amazing that line is from the 70s. Like, oh, I didn't know they had that language back then.
Yeah.
But they did. We're just reusing it like bell bottoms.
Oh, what's the have you ever heard the classic music? Let's see if that gets me where I'm going. What's her name? It's like Lucille
Ball?
No.
Austero?
Raunchy blues music. Shave 'Em Dry by Lucille Bilgan. Have you ever heard that?
Nope, haven't heard of either of those words.
I'm not sure if it's legal for us to like play things on here. Otherwise,
no,
I'd
music
like
is easily flagged. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, look up "Shave 'Em Dry" by Lucille Bilgan. It's like you will be shocked at how incredibly filthy it is. Here's the first. I'll just read you the first line. I got nipples on my titties. Big as the end of my thumb. That's how she opens the song. This is 1935. I got something between my legs, make a dead man come. That's line number 2. 1935. Amazing.
Nice.
I
thought that the next line was also going to comment on the size of the anatomy, but it's just a regular. So I guess the nipples are very big, but then the vagina is it can just make dead guys come.
The next line is, "Oh daddy, baby, won't you shave 'em dry?" which is the namesake of the song. I don't know. Do you want to take a gander at what it would mean to shave 'em dry and why you'd want to?
Shave, let's see, what would be? The balls?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe you shave the balls dry.
Okay, sure.
Is that after that line? Like imagine a lady being really straightforward, like exceptionally like, I got nipples on my titties as big as the end of my thumbs. Like, all right, that's an interesting opening line to approach someone at a bar with. And then she's going to make you come, and then she's just like, "Can I shave your balls?"
Sure.
Like,
I mean,
okay.
It's the least I could do, you know.
Number 9 is, if I saw a street fight break out and knew I could not intervene, I would try to watch.
Of course.
I'm a 6. I've seen so many fights in my life.
I mean, the circle
you're a
in the
6?
elementary school. Yeah, I'm a 5 or a 6. You know, in elementary school, something happens. Like, you don't even control it. You're just all of a sudden part of a circle that's standing around. People going at it. You're like, what's happening here? And then before you know it, it's broken up, because only in movies do those fights last for 5-10 minutes. Normally, they're done in a second.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot of flailing around, and no one knows what they're doing because no one's trained to be a fighter. And if they are, they're normally not going to get in a fight. That's the paradox. Yeah. Unless you're Conor McGregor or some of these guys that are really hot-headed.
Do those guys get in fights in real life?
Yeah, I don't know if it's publicity, but I think they're just really hot-headed people. But Conor McGregor will just like get into fights with like an old man at a bar because he's just this authentic Irish dude. Get out of the way, you fuck. And this other guy, I forget his name too, but yeah, occasionally the MMA fighters will get into real fights in real life.
I remember in the beginning of UFC, there was this guy, size like a teenager, and friends would get it on pay-per-view. There's this guy, Frank the Tank Abbott, who is just described as a pit fighter. He was like this large guy, like had like a beer gut and everything, and he just like, if he punched you, you were knocked out. But like other than that, he wasn't very mobile and stuff. And there would be things like he was just such a brutal. They'd be showing him a thing afterwards where he's just like smashing someone's face in as the referee's trying to take him off, and he's like, "Oh, you better turn that off. That's turning me on." And he'd just say stuff like that. He'd be like, he'd lose a fight and be like, "Yeah, whatever. I'm gonna go out to a bar tonight. Maybe I'll get in another fight. Who knows? I bet I'll win that one." Some people are built differently.
Oh yeah.
All right. My number 10 is I'm interested in seeing how limb amputation works.
Nah, disagree. 2.
1.
Yeah, sure. No, 2, because I'll see how it works, but I don't want to be around the smell and the gushing and the thing. But if it's like, here's how it works, where why does your body not reject it? How does it take it in and stuff? That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I'll be a 3.
Do we even have that figured out? Can you get an arm transplant? I guess if you have the right match or something, the right blood type, and also luck is on your hand.
I think so. I think with every single thing goes right, it's possible.
I hope we can hijack some lizard genes and like grow our shit back. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be.
Have you seen Love, Death, and Robots? There's a episode where the guy has a regeneration thing where like within a day, like if his arm is blown off, he just like slowly grows it back.
They had some fun with that in Deadpool.
Oh yeah, Deadpool has the healing thing like Wolverine, I think.
Yeah. Whereas like the awkward phase of him like growing into his regeneration. Yeah. I don't quite remember the scene, but I remember thinking like, oh, that was fun.
Yeah.
That's a fun, as I'm pickier and pickier about superhero movies, the older I get, I mean, I used to love them and they just don't do it for me like they used to. Deadpool though is one where I'm like, that's fun. I enjoy that.
Yeah. It's its own flavor. But it's weird that our hair grows and our nails grow, but then our actual arm, it's like, no, screw you. The arm is gone forever. It's like, come on, I don't want the nails to grow forever, but I do want the arm to come back.
Yeah, and I think I've told you before, there's a person that I interviewed in Vancouver, Washington, who is working on, they're studying fish hearing cells that regenerate. So fish don't lose their hearing because they can regenerate their hearing, and they're trying to see if they can like activate that gene or something like that in us. So
we have a deaf listener actually, who's not a listener, you know what I mean, a deaf content consumer who likes the highlights, but they want to consume the whole episode, and they were asking me if we were going to try transcribe the whole episode ever, and I said we're working on it. We got to find the right software because there's no way we're gonna make our staff transcribe the whole episode. That's impossible.
They're already drinking pee. Like our staff is having to drink their own urine.
But we've got a deaf person. That's pretty cool.
I mean, thanks so much for the Patreon support, everybody, because it does go toward making improvements like that. We may be adding some better cameras eventually and stuff like that. I mean, we're already doing really well, but we're continuing to improve things.
And we also had...
that's like a whole person's job to transcribe. That's like a full-time employee to transcribe our shows, especially in the bonus content and everything. We just do the regular show.
It's got to be with software. No way anyone can do it by hand. Also, we have a listener that can't smell anything, and they wanted us to be able to describe how we smell throughout the show to them. I made that one up. The deaf one is real.
You had me for a second, and then I was like, oh, wait a second. That's who I
the deaf person is real, but they can't hear this yet. But maybe one day they will. Hey, we did it. We transcribed it. You can see it now. But
it's a little harder with your mask on. I don't have quite my same when is Ramin making stuff up and when isn't he. It's like it took me 3 seconds longer than it should have. That was fun though. We have a listener who wants us to describe this.
I smell like Dove Men's Care and Gillette deodorant, which probably has aluminum in it and I shouldn't use, but whatever. Old habits die hard.
Yeah. Well, there's a bad transition. So I don't wear deodorant, but I used to wear deodorant. And it's a little rough to go from wearing deodorant to not wearing deodorant, but you can do it. I think you smell better. And deodorant is a scam, but if you're used to using it, there's gonna be a rough few weeks in there. And there are like genuinely there's people that need it in certain situations, but your average person does not need deodorant every day unless they've been using deodorant every day and now they need it because of that. But I smell fantastic.
I can second that. Strongly agree.
Strongly agree.
6.
Sometimes I smell myself. I'm like, that's awesome. I smell great.
Did I ever tell you that? Not my
feet.
I heard.
Unfortunately,
I heard Adam Carolla doesn't, or he described it. He doesn't use any products in the shower. He's like, no, I just rinse with hot water, and that's it. Your body knows how to make it smell fine. You don't need all this other crap. And then I met him once at this Falsi's pizza place. I don't know, on Melrose, some pizza place. And I got to meet him and I gave him a hug. And while I was hugging him, like, this guy smells really good. I remember thinking like, yeah, he smells really good.
Yeah, it's a musk. It's it's a real thing. It's I'm in full agreement on that very specific thing.
Yeah.
That Adam Carolla says.
Yeah, and this is like almost a decade ago, so maybe he doesn't now, but I bet he still does now. But back when I did smell him at that pizza restaurant, he did smell good.
Yeah,
very nice.
Yeah,
too.
I get
friendly.
compliments. It's not just me, Brad. Like, this is a report. This is meant to help others. That I'm telling you, you actually don't need deodorant. You might, but most people don't. So 11. My favorite part of a crime show is learning about why the killer did what he did. I think it's a poorly worded statement.
My favorite part is why they did it. Maybe I'll do middle. I'll do 4.
Yeah, because if this was, I'm a 4 too, or maybe I'll even put a 5. I mean, I love learning about how the mind works and motivation, but I also like hearing how they solved it and everything else. If this was phrased, how much do you like learning about why the killer did what they did? Then I'd be much higher, but like more than how did they get away with it? How did they get busted? How did the police determine and solve it? No, I don't necessarily like it more than that stuff, but I think I'm going to put a 5 anyway, thinking like, here's what they probably meant. So number 12, I find the occult interesting.
6.
I'll do a 5 for that one for sure. I mean,
I've been deconstructing David Bowie's Black Star video for 6 years now. What does it mean? Why is there gold encrusted jewels on Major Tom's head? What did that mean?
I mean, I like beliefs. I like learning about even as someone that's like maybe like if I'm not an atheist, I'm pretty darn close to one, but I find belief systems absolutely fascinating. As if you're listening last week, I really like hearing about like how witchcraft evolved, or the Code of Hammurabi is like things that I looked up years ago just out of curiosity. I very much like that stuff. I find it fascinating. That was 12. This is 13. By the way, if you take this at home, it's a lot. I had to find the paper and the questions are spread out everywhere and it's a little hard to keep track of. But if you're listening, Coltan Scrivner's website should be up and going. I'm going to send him an email. I would be curious enough to watch a duel if I had lived in the Wild West.
Of course. 6. Oh, I can't even whistle through this. There you go.
I'm a 5, but I could be talked into a 6 real easy. I also like the time period when like weapons weren't there. Like I don't need to see a duel today because definitely someone's super dead. Whereas back then, you'd get shot and then you'd be like, all right, now it's my turn to shoot you.
Yeah, because it's just a piece of nickel that just gets lodged in your upper chest and your P3X Colt gunpowder 68.
And then you would tap out like of a gunfight. You'd be like, all right.
Didn't that happen to one of the presidents, Andrew Garfield or something? Not Andrew Garfield, Andrew Jackson or some president challenged a duel because they called his wife fat or something, and then he lived and shot the other guy.
I think actually they were in multiple duels. I'm forgetting the comic's name in New York who's so smart and funny.
David Tell.
Good friend with Mike Kaplan.
Mike Sherman.
Shoot. I wish I was remembering his name. Now I feel bad.
Describe them physically. I bet I know.
Hopefully he'll come to me. But he had a late night set all about Andrew Jackson, accused him of cheating on a horse race bet and then insulted his wife. He's like, all right.
You cheated on that horse race bet and your wife looks like one.
Oh, it was...
I challenge you to a duel.
I was so busy reading. I missed that fucking amazing slam on Andrew Jackson. Was it Hamilton?
That sounds right.
Well, because I
only know Bill Clinton
Jackson
and
was
Obama.
in that one, but then there's Hamilton. 2, there was someone that was in like multiple duels. But yeah, if you died in a duel, it was because you like got an infection.
Yeah.
Or maybe it like hit you in the head or something like that. But you'd be like, well, the strategy is you wait, you like turn sideways, they shoot, and then you like really take aim and then you shoot. So you just like, maybe I'll get shot, but it's just in the side. I'll just get shot in the side. I would cover my head. I don't think that's like very gentlemanly. I don't think I would duel like a gentleman, really. Like I would have some pretty innovative strategies.
You would wear a black hat.
Yeah. I think I'm a 5. I think I would watch a duel. I put you down for a 6.
Yeah.
I hope you're okay with that.
I'm just trying to bump up my numbers a bit. I feel like I lose points on the operating table, and then I gain them back with the occult and the gladiators. It's weird. So occult, supernatural, I'm very high on that scale, and then gladiator stuff also. But then something about head transplant, like, would you gurgle this dead body's blood for 6 hours? I'm like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Would you fill your Listerine bottle with this guy's, just fluid that's in his intestine and just gurgle it? Would you? What if it was 1812? Would you do it then? No.
I'll see if I can find these categories, which would normally come right up and it calculates everything for you quite nicely. But And like I said, a little bit of issues. I'll find that in a second, as my phone's also having issues. Anyway, 16. Where are we? 15. I would be interested in watching an interview with an imprisoned serial killer talking about his crimes.
Yeah, I'll do 5.
Okay. I'm like a 6 there. I've actually done that before. I liked hearing from Dahmer. I enjoyed Mindhunter, which is actual recorded things. Here's another bodily one. I would like to see how bodies are prepared for funerals.
No, I'm a 1. And the embalming and the makeup and they suck all the everything out of you and they fill it up with silly putty or whatever.
Yeah, I'd be okay if we stopped doing that, like altogether.
It seems like a waste of time to just dress the person up, and they don't even look like themselves when they're prepared for a funeral. They look off.
You know when they started that tradition? Before photos.
Weird. That's a scam, huh?
Yeah, we have photos now. Like, you don't need to imagine like one more peek at them. And
have you seen Haunting of Hill House, or it might be Haunting of Bly Manor, one of those haunting shows? But one of the characters is really afraid to see their mother in the casket because they're like, I don't want to see a dead body. I don't want to see a dead body. I don't want to. And they're like, you have to say goodbye to your mother. You have to go see her. And then she goes up to the casket and she's relieved because she's like, oh, she looks beautiful. She looks great. And then that's her origin story of why she became a funeral director and an embalming person, because her experience of seeing her mother look pretty in the casket. She's like, I want to do that for people now. I want people's last memory of them to be very pretty, wearing what they liked.
Interesting.
But the problem is, normally it looks like bad plastic surgery.
Yeah.
You look like Uday and Qusay Hussein.
Yeah. 16. A documentary on voodoo would interest me.
Oh yeah, 6.
There's like, I didn't know that they do like mummifications and stuff, like weird Haitian, like that's there's judgments that happen where they like turn people into mummies and stuff.
In voodoo they do?
I don't know. I should look into that.
All I know about voodoo is the doll, and the you put the needle in the doll and it corresponds to the real life person, but I've only seen it in movies.
I'm gonna do a 5. You're a 6?
Yeah.
I could be talked into a 6. But I'm gonna put a 5 down. I think it's kind of interesting. So by the way, we're going to get a total is all that we're going to do, but the 4 things that it's broke into are body violation, violence, mind of dangerous people, and supernatural danger. So those are the 4 categories of this. 17. I would prefer violent movies and TV shows to be uncensored.
Yeah. Don't pan the camera away when they cut off the head. Just show me the head cut off.
I mean, what's the alternative? I would prefer them to be censored. I mean, I probably have some lines somewhere with violent stuff, but
Star Wars censors the violence a lot, but you know what happens. Like when the Count Dooku's head is decapitated, you kind of see in the background like a head rolling a little bit, but you don't see the slicing. You just kind of see the
Scarface chainsaw in the bathroom scene.
That's censored?
Yeah, there's the chainsaw out, the guy's chained in the bathroom, and then you see the chainsaw and then it pans away and then you see blood on the wall.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Spray on the wall.
It's weird that we remember it differently sometimes. You remember it uncensored and then you go back and watch and then you see,
well, I think that was
censored.
like part of the innovative, I think that was an actual innovative device at the time because they started realizing like, oh, the mind actually just fills in stuff, and what the mind will fill in is like more horrifying sometimes than what you can create with special effects. I think the preservation of bodies like in taxidermy or mummification is interesting.
2.
I'm a 2 as well.
Yeah, let the ground eat it.
Yeah.
The ground is hungry.
Yeah, nature's amazing. It takes everything. It's just watching some little bird on this documentary that goes around to giraffes and like eats all the ticks out of it, and it'll just like eat ticks out of its asshole and stuff, and just like every little, like nothing goes to waste. That bird just loves, like that's dessert. There's nothing that bird loves than a good anus tick out of a giraffe's butthole. And that's
wait, is it living or dead?
Living. Yeah, it's like a symbiotic relationship. They often ride around on these giraffes as they'll go in and like pick its teeth and stuff and be its dentist and whatnot for them. And the giraffes have evolved to just be like, yeah, I'm cool with these birds.
Nice.
Because the giraffes that were cool with those birds had less ticks and things like that living on them. And it all works out. Nature is amazing. You don't need to put people in caskets and let them bloat and everything, and then
those
dig
trees
them up.
Are pretty cool. Those tree pods where you can become a tree or something.
Yeah, in Oregon.
In Oregon, you can.
Yeah, in Oregon, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
They'll throw you right in a. They'll like wrap you up in some like biodegradable stuff. So which like, yeah, that makes sense. Rather than just lugging a body around in a wheelbarrow out and about that other people need to see. It's
mostly the other stuff doing the work, to be honest.
Yeah.
You're just kind of there.
Being a criminal profiler who studies the personality of murderers would be an interesting job.
It's implying for us, not for one.
For us.
Interesting. Yeah. 3. Or
That's
maybe 4. Maybe 4.
4 is a somewhat agree.
Yeah, 4 is agree because you're like you're trying to stop them. You're on team good guy or whatever.
Yeah, I'm a strongly agree. I would get it if someone offered me a job doing that. I'd probably take it. It seems interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how much work I'd get done. Like, did you read about what crimes they did? Oh no, I am today though. I'm gonna email that to you by tonight.
Oh, I'm not saying I'd be a good worker. I'm saying I'd be interested in the work.
Yeah.
Procrastinating on the murder investigation.
You know he's killed 3 more people, right? Oh yeah, just throw that in the Slack. And I'll bump that priority up to orange.
That's a fucking amazing premise for a show. The murder investigators that are like kind of lazy procrastinators. And there's no twist where then it was actually their procrastination that solves it. No. There's just
no. They made it worse.
It's real problematic.
Yeah.
That's very funny. That could be a good sketch or something.
Maybe they have to solve it once it gets to them because they run out of people to kill. And then it's down to them. Like, oh, okay, we actually have to solve this now. Let's see. They killed everyone but us. So we know that their target is people. But But I also saw a dead animal on the road once, so they could be killing animals too. We better go study animals. We better go watch David Attenborough docs just to be sure.
You know me, always leave it to the last minute. I'm curious how a Ouija board works.
Oh yeah, I am curious actually. I'll do strongly agree, even though I've never even tried one.
I'm a 2-spot on that. I'm just like, I guess this is his most problematic statement, because if you're into Ouija boards, you're like, I already know how they work. And then if you're not into Ouija boards, you're like, I already know how they work. They don't. and so people don't generally, it's like his lowest rated statement.
How could you resist though? Like if it was like you and me, or maybe like 3 of us doing it, how could you resist not pushing it in a direction? How could you hold it and not like resist the like moving it to like F U C K U R M U M S A S S A? You did that, didn't you?
I'd just be so annoyed by like not being able to figure out who's being the asshole.
I couldn't not do it. I guess that's why I would like even after 8 times I'd be like, okay, seriously, no, I won't fuck with it. And then you still just send them the message. It's
funny to be into like, oh yeah, Ouija boards work, and like believe that. 'Cause it would be like so many of the things, like I always feel like there's a little bit of people that knows that it's actually not real, because otherwise it'd be like front page news. You know, imagine if a bunch of 9-year-old girls at a slumber party, actually, that's like the headline in the newspaper. Slumber party of 5th grade girls connects to the other side, the actual another dimension, and then you're like trying to figure out how to replicate it. Like, okay, did you eat the cheesecake before you braided the hair? And just like 9-year-olds figured out how to communicate with the dead. That'd be fucking amazing.
Proof of life after death. Incontrovertible proof. Thanks to Bethany, Ashlyn, and Jashlyn.
Someone said, hey, bloody murder in a mirror 3 times, and now, sorry, we got a monster on the loose.
I tried that. It didn't work. Yeah. Surprise.
Brave of you to try, though.
And it's Bloody Mary, right? Not Bloody Murder.
Oh,
maybe that's why it didn't work.
That's what it is. Oh, I
don't even like the drink. I mean, I'm not a big tomato juice guy.
Yeah, I like Bloody Mary's okay.
All right.
I'm curious what a battle looked like in the Middle Ages.
Yeah, 6. How did they move in that armor?
That's what I'm saying. That's the stuff I'm interested in too. Catapults. You think those things worked? I bet they were super problematic. Mm-hmm. You think they were do you think they were reliable?
No.
I mean, they probably had them down, but it seems like you got to have like an enormous boulder with you. You don't have too many, like reloading the thing, even if it does work. And you have to have you got to have like a couple catapult mechanics around. It probably takes many people to operate the thing.
You overshoot by a little, you undershoot by a little, you got to reset it up for 30 minutes.
It just seems like there's a lot of bloopers, you know. It wasn't like you see the fighter pilot now with like homing missiles, and it just gets the target every time. And there's a lot of haphazard shit going on in the battlefields in the Middle Ages.
And the armored knight, like you think about someone wearing that heavy armor, it would probably be more advantageous to wear no armor and be able to move around and just have a little dagger and like find the one like opening in the armor and stab them, where they're like trying to swing this 50-pound broadsword.
Yeah, I don't. What was the armor just for?
Ceremony, maybe.
Well, maybe it was like the important people that didn't actually fight, so that they wouldn't get hit with bows and arrows or something.
Oh,
Or
that's
like
a good point. Yeah.
someone broke through, maybe they'd have, because there's always like child kings and stuff. I was like, crap, this 8-year-old king.
Yeah. And I think knights were royalty, or knights were like high class people who were already wealthy, and then they could become
maybe.
knights. It was very rare that a knight was like a poor person that worked their way up.
Yeah, I don't know a thing about it. Fill it in the YouTube comments. Talk
about knights.
We have a lot of well-read listeners that I'm sure will send us some good books or documentaries or other sources like that.
Yeah, were they all 5 feet tall? According to the museum I went to, I think so, but maybe not. Maybe there was someone who was 5'8" or 5'9" even.
Yeah.
Humans were shorter, right? Is that true? I think humans were shorter.
Yeah, it was malnutrition.
What?
It was malnutrition.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah, because there was a dip in height during the time when things became when they first started having monocultures. They didn't understand that you needed variety in your diet. It's just like, you just put grain in there and it fills your stomach and then it's full. They didn't know that you needed a variety of foods and such.
All grain.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. So just eating like nothing but a bunch of different corn dishes.
No. Why does that one sound like the worst? Like when you think of the carnivore diet, you're like, okay, I could, if I had to, life or death, I could acclimate. Or it's like going raw vegan. You're like, I could acclimate if I had to. But then if it's, grain only, you're like, no, not just grain.
Yeah, you can't do just grain. You need to throw some other stuff in there. I'm curious about the minds of violent people.
Yeah, I'll do for.
I'm 6, I would say. And the idea is too, again, like they did a really nice job of this in Mindhunter, where there was the stigma of like, you don't talk to these crazy lunatic. There's something wrong with you if you want to talk to them and understand how their mind works. But it should be like a pretty natural part of the human condition to know various people's motives and know the threats that potentially exist, and know what the warning signs are, know how to potentially fix them, what policies might make them better, what education can create change or limit some of when there's violence in various people or cultures or whatever.
Yeah, especially if you're at more risk for it, because aren't women more interested in serial killers? That might just be anecdotal evidence, because when I think of people really into true crime and serial killers, it's normally the broads and not the blokes. And I think that's because the serial killers are killing women more.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's just a bit more of a threat if you're a little more vulnerable, and therefore you should be a little more vigilant. Females tend to have higher rates of anxiety, probably because of similar reasons. And yeah, I mean, the like writing the serial killer thing, I did ask one of my guests about that, about like women having a thing for serial killers. And he thought that it had more to do with just there's a billion people that know who Jeffrey Dahmer is. There's going to be a couple that are into it. It's just a numbers thing. There's a couple people that are into everything. So it's not, there's maybe not anything like terribly inherently sexy or whatever about a serial killer unless they're really charismatic or something. But there's also like a danger element that's that I think gets some people going a little bit too, and the like wanting to change or seeing this other like surprising side of someone that you thought was a monster or something. I think there's a few things going on there.
Yeah, who knows?
I don't know.
I like that though. Yeah, we just notice it because out of the billions of people, there are some. Most people are probably not into them.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I think witchcraft would be interesting topic to learn about.
Yeah, 6.
Yeah. And if you're skipping around in episodes, check out the last episode where we shared some fun info from a little bit of research. I think it's a super interesting concept. I probably spent a good 8 hours or so like looking into various origins of Halloween and witchcraft stuff outside of stuff that I've done in the past. And I was trying to find more time to do it. I was finding it to be a pretty fascinating subject. And there's origin of Halloween books out there. There's tons of, if any of that stuff is interesting to you, which is way more interesting than I already thought it'd be an interesting subject, turned out to be way, way, way more interesting than I thought it would be. Then certainly look into it. There's tons of stuff out there. I'm doing some calculations. Let's see.
Oh, it's score time?
It's score time. This is I think this is the longest episode of Mind Under Matter ever.
Really? What did we clock in at? 3 hours?
We're like 2.5 hours.
Oh, damn.
Not bad. Sometimes I get some bonus. This is also nice because it's what I like about these surveys too. Is sometimes I'm like, oh man, I used 5 good studies in that episode. Hopefully I don't run out of...
I've run out of science.
I'll just run out of science that I know to talk about. But these are fun because, yeah, these are endless. And they're such good conversation starters, I feel like.
Yeah, I like it.
I think if I'm doing things correctly, you're right at about 5.
I'm taking it. It's mine. You can't have it. I'm owning my 5. I am the most, or not the most, but I am a morbidly curiostic. Oh, okay. I'm not.
Oh yeah. I was totally off. You're almost a 4 on the dot.
Okay.
I knew there's something wrong with the 5.
I'm average Joe. I'm average Joe the plumber, small business owner, got a wife, 2 kids, and a dog. I'm Coors Light.
Without just a quick bit of you're like 4.02 or something like that. I'm 4.42 in total morbid curiosity. My body violation score, which is like all the amputee stuff and whatnot. Terrible term for that, by the way.
What's that mean? Amputee stuff?
The body violation is the category.
Is amputee not a good word? Is that like...
No, I saying body violation sounds like something different than... But I'm 3.5. That's my lowest one. I think you are pretty low on that. If I had to guess, you're probably a 3 or something. Yeah, I need to go through the questions, which I won't do. But violence, I think we're a little higher. I'm 4.67. And minds of, you're maybe even a little higher than me on the violence. Minds of dangerous people, I got the sense I was a little higher than you. I'm 5.17. And then supernatural danger, I think you are maybe a little higher than me. I'm 4.33. And so yeah, that's the Morbid Curiosity Scale. But it's so some stuff about horror movies and why people like them is one thing that's really fascinating is it turns out that it seems like people that have higher anxiety, or people that like horror movies might have higher anxiety generally. And it's actually a way of managing anxiety. There's a couple things going on. One, if you're a really anxious person, you're more visually vigilant for danger. And because of that, you get more immersed in seeing threats on television. And because you get more immersion might be leading to a higher enjoyment of the film. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so there's that, and then there's also there's a couple types of people. There's adrenaline junkies like myself that I think we have like just slightly more dopamine receptors and stuff, and it's just
lucky bastards.
Yeah, it just feels like that sensation seeking stuff just feels a little bit better for adrenaline junkies than it does for average people.
I think I've got like one in the left hemisphere and one in the right. And they're like you as a security guard.
and then there's like white knucklers, people that are really anxious, actually don't like the idea of going into a haunted house or watching a scary movie, but when they actually do it, they feel like they overcame something or got out of their comfort zone, and it felt better after the fact for them, even though they were actually scared the whole time. Much in the same way that you might derive pleasure from like a really intense workout or something like that as well.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And when you were talking about the anxious horror fans, I'm thinking about people I know personally that are big into horror, and they are very anxious, kind of timid, soft-spoken people, but they love the genre, and it's kind of a weird juxtaposition, but now that makes sense.
Yeah. And then because it's a way of it's also, and then another interesting thing is so there's this guy V.S. Ramachandran who wrote some really great books, one being A Telltale Brain, and he's a neuroscientist, and he's speculated that people with panic attacks, which is like a feedback loop problem, where something that you aren't consciously aware of triggers some sort of stress response. The stress response itself goes from the brain, triggers a hormonal response that goes into the body, makes like your palms sweaty, hair stand up, whatever.
Mom's spaghetti, yeah.
Yeah, and then another part of your brain is taking in feedback from your body, and that's going, hey, why are our palms sweaty? Is there some threat out there? And then that sends a signal back to the same part of the brain being like, I think there's a threat out here. We better, and then it just it just keeps on, it snowballs. It's a feedback loop because, and what's really causing it is the inability to pinpoint an actual threat. And so not finding one is making you ramp up. And so the idea was like, well, what if people walked around with a horror movie on pause on like one of their browsers in their phone, so the next time they're having a panic attack, they could look at that, and then that would signal to their subconscious, oh, here's the threat. Oh, I see. And then, oh, it's just a thing on my screen. Okay. And it because ambiguity is a big stressor for a lot of people.
Wait, are you proposing that as a solution, or that actually has worked? It seems like that would never work.
That's what he speculated on in this book. I'm not sure it's ever been tested since, but there's similar ideas that they've been thinking of with maybe that's what's happening with anxious people in horror movies. So you have a chronic persistent anxiety issue, and then you get to focus that on this acute stressor for this 1.5 2-hour time that then once it's over, you got away from the danger. You're over the stress, and it kind of brought it to the head. Much in the same way that going on a roller coaster is that really healthy short stressor that is acute, and you get a high out of it, and then your parasympathetic dials everything down, and you relax afterwards. Compared to normal waking life, where you just never dial down. You're just at a resting, anxious state. So there's a lot of reasons why horror could be potentially a beneficial form of kind of self-medicating.
That would be great if it works. Just like, I'm having a panic attack. Then you just pull up Saw. You just scroll to a random part of one of the Saw. Like, it was just in the screen.
Yeah, you get bad news at work and you just got to go and watch the Saw quick. But who knows? I mean, if it did work, it would be a TV-based therapy would change the world, because a lot more people would sign up for a TV-based therapy regiment than they would for a lot of other forms of therapy.
I don't even have anxiety, and I would sign up for it.
So yeah, that's the Morbid Curiosity Scale. That's Halloween episode number 2. Anything else you wanted to add, or did you
tune in to Not Safe with Nikki Glazers, 8 p.m. on Comedy Central's in 2015. Tune in.
Since we're time traveling and everything. I do look, that's what I am. I'm a time traveler.
You are. You do look like a time traveler.
We discovered what my costume is right before the end of the show.
And I'm Ron.
If you guys want more, there's plenty more bonus episode. Whatever number episode this is, there's that many episodes. There's a weekly episode of Mind Under Art on Patreon, and then some, because there's also a monthly full bonus episode of the show. And support us on there. One day we'll be able to help deaf people take in more of our show. And yeah,
think of how much they're suffering right now. Like the whole deaf community doesn't get to hear full episodes. That's hell. That's true hell.
It's true hell. And it's your
blind
fault
people,
if you're not
blind people are in heck because they can at least hear us. But
yeah, if you are listening to this and you aren't supporting us on Patreon, you probably hate deaf people. I'm sorry to say it, but it's something worth looking into in yourself.
I wish it wasn't true, but it is true.
So next week on the show is part 3 of 4, but the last public episode from the political survey. And again, October just happened to be a huge survey month. Usually there's going to be maybe one a month, and play around, do some special ones. We might do one for Thanksgiving on gratitude. We're still feeling that out. But and then coming up, we have a consciousness episode coming, and a few other really fun special things planned. If you enjoyed this on YouTube, liking our costumes and everything, make sure and subscribe. Our editor, Matt McCool, throws in a bunch of cool editing stuff and fun stuff like that, which you can especially see in the highlights on Instagram. Make sure and review on iTunes so more people find us, because there's more people like you that want to be recommended things that you like. So help change the world. And until next time,
keep on salivating, honeys. Ding! Water.